Great. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Metaphysical Insights. I'm William Becker, your host. And today we have the charming, the wonderful, the fabulous Dan Winter and Vivien Powell.
Thank
And
you. Good evening, everybody, or good morning. I should say good afternoon, everybody.
yeah,
I'm gonna say nanu nanu.
No.
you're dating yourself.
Nanu is Mork and Mindy.
I know, that's what I'm saying. You're dating yourself.
Yeah. What's Small Mindy? I don't know that one. I don't think that's before
Oh,
my
shut
time.
up.
We don't believe you, Dan.
Oh, you're right not to. I loved Mork and Mindy. It was brilliant.
Yeah. I was too young to really know what it was about.
I'm sure, William. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm older than both of you put together. Well, we will have I know a few people that are going to be joining in, including my sister. My blood,
Excellent.
I
Brilliant.
believe she said. And so we'll see. Anyway, for those of you, you can display in the comments room, and I can have the magic power to make it all appear on screen. And so if you have questions or anything like that come up, please let us know. We don't have anything planned particular today. We just go on and talk about all kinds of things. And I don't follow regular formats. It's not like usually how did you get started and whatever. And I know it's all interesting stuff.
You've already heard it from us though, so many times.
I've already heard it from you guys. I don't want to hear it again. I talk about stuff I want to talk about or interested in. So, first of all, what are you guys up to as far as research goes? Let me back up slightly. Vivien started the Simply Spooky Network or Facebook page and channel. I believe there's YouTube as well. Dan and Vivien are doing simply spooky stuff, plus Striking Midnight, which is a whole nother thing we'll talk about. So they've got a lot of different fires going, as well as investigations and all kinds of stuff. I can't keep track of these two. So just to get a little background there, but so what's on the books? What's happening?
Viv?
Next week we are out investigating.
Okay.
There's talk of us, believe it or not, and it's all Dan's fault. He's got me. He's got me hooked on Bigfoot, and there has been some sightings, not in the usual place that everyone goes to, but there's been a lot of sightings recently. Dan will explain. Here in England, plus some sightings in other areas. So I'm nagging Dan while we've got good weather here. Let's go and see, just me and Dan, nobody else. We're going to do this secretly and maybe film it. And we're going to go and see what we can see and what we can actually find. As you know, I've been to Cliff's Museum with yourself, William.
Yep.
And I've learned a lot from Cliff, going back through the footage and watching stuff that I'd recorded and books. And Dan's got me watching YouTube, and I've got the bug. And so, because we've had all these sightings here in the UK, I'm now in the process of nagging Dan, saying, come on, let's do this while we can. We've got this inside information, and we're just trying to get that sorted out, really, and other investigations. We're doing an awful lot, aren't we, Dan? Because we've got a show on another network as well as this, and
that's right. The Things Network. I forgot to mention that. Yeah.
There's so much going on. I don't know which way to turn, but I just said to Dan, I don't do camping, but I will do if we're going out looking for Bigfoot. So that's what we're doing.
I just tell people my idea of camping is a Hilton.
That would be my idea of camping, to be honest.
Because that's about as low end.
Hilton money.
Yeah, well, to me, they're pretty lousy hotels. They're my low end, except for a rare occasional high one. But yeah, I know what you mean. Motel
You want,
6 is more
you
like
want the
it.
Four Seasons. If you come over, you want the Four Seasons. That's what you need.
Intercontinentals are nice.
Yeah, there are some nice hotels out there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've got intentions of big hotels, but tent money.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know what you
That's
mean.
it. That's
Yeah.
it, really.
Yeah, and tent money only because I already have the tent. If I had to
Yeah,
buy it, I'd be
exactly.
in
Yeah,
trouble.
I'm going to borrow mine.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know about you two. I'm sleeping under the stars. I've got a tent.
Let's hope it doesn't rain.
You guys have adders over there. No, thank you. I want to be up above the ground.
Yeah, we do have it. Mind you, they're pretty mild, really. I think the bite from one of those it can be nasty if you've got sort of an undercurrent illness or problems, heart problems and stuff. But overall, a bite from one of those is it'll make you a bit sick, but that'll be about the worst
Yeah,
of
I've
it.
heard it's not fun. You're not going to die, but
No,
they're
it's
not
quite
fun.
painful. Yeah, I think it's more
Yeah.
burning than anything. Luckily, I've not. To be honest with you, I'm sort of 55 now, and in all my years, I've only ever seen 2 of them, and that's when I've gone looking for them. Apart from that, just don't
Yeah.
come
I've
across
seen
them.
one. I've seen one.
What, in your 75 years, you've seen one, Viv?
In my 75 years, I've seen
You
one
look so
adder,
well.
and I'm catching up with old
It's
Queenie
gin.
here. Catching up with old Queenie. I'll be out there celebrating our platinum jubilee in a couple of weeks.
Excellent.
That's true.
Is it next Friday, Dan?
Yes, I think it. Yeah, it is. I think
I like her. I really do.
I like her.
Yeah.
I like her.
She's
The
all
rest
right
of them,
for
I'm not so
she's
fussed
all right
about.
for an
I do
old
like
girl,
her.
though. She's all
Yeah.
right for an old girl. She smokes, she drinks. Hi, Susie.
Hi, Susie.
Hi, Susie.
That's my
Sis,
blood and
that's
chosen
sis.
sister. Vivian's my sister by choice, but
Susie, how do you put up with that?
I said Susie is blood and chosen.
Ah,
So,
there you go then.
yeah.
There you go then.
But well, you guys need to come here for Bigfoot. I live about 40 minutes away from
It's on
the
your
biggest
doorstep, isn't it?
activity places in the world.
Yeah, it's on your
So-
doorstep.
They say, but you get conflict everywhere. They're saying Alaska is, Oregon is, Kentucky is, all these other places. I just think he is where he is.
Saw that.
Don't worry, Susie, I appreciate you.
I said it first. I said when I first said who Susie was that she was my sister by blood and chosen. So
Yeah.
it wasn't a nice save. I said it to begin with. I get so abused. I always
Yeah.
have. See, this is.
You love it when we abuse you, though, William.
I know. I really need a better therapist. Figure that out.
Oh, dear.
But anyway, it's fun. But yeah, you guys have more cryptoid type things over there, the reports. Now, personally, if I don't see it, I don't believe it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm in, and but we my sister and I, Susie, we can sit around at the table playing a game and laugh so hysterically the rest of her family just shakes their heads and turn away, and and we're falling on the floor. We can't breathe. We're laughing so hard over nothing. We used to get in trouble when we do that at the dinner table sometimes. Couldn't help it. But anyway, it's an interesting field, and I have seen a Bigfoot. I know there's something there. And I've communicated with them. And since I actually then saw one, I can think that the communication probably was legitimate, not my imagination. But what do you guys, now that you're getting involved in everything in it so much, what do you think it is? They are these other cryptoids. I don't have any direct experience. There are all kinds of explanations of what they might or might not be. What do you think it's all about? Talk about a loaded question.
Go on, Dan.
I'm pretty much like you, William. Really, I can't really. I look up. You obviously you come across different answers and theories, and they all kind of fit. They all, the whole thing about, well, are they interdimensional? You only ever see them when there's an alien craft about, or when there's UFO activity. Could they be related to that? Could they be just an animal or a missing link? And they all fit. All of these theories kind of fit. And I'm kind of left thinking, I have no idea. I'm just intrigued by them. From a zoological point of view, as much as anything, it's just to think that there are creatures out there that we've not quite discovered yet, I'm sure, particularly in the oceans. I don't know. The jury's out for me. I have no clue as to where they come from, what they are, what they do, who they are, whether they're sort of genetically related to us or whether they are from a different galaxy. I have no idea. But from the stuff that I've seen of them, the footage and stuff that I've seen of them, the vocalizations, there's an intelligence there. There seems to be a high intelligence there, and the fact that they're so elusive, it kind of screams to me that they're intelligent enough to know to stay away from us.
Yeah.
Because we're never good news, are we? We're concerned.
No, what they told me during a research event I was on, led by a friend of mine, and we were actually, the guy who was leading it was we could tell there were 3 of them by us. We didn't see them physically. That's not the one I saw, but you could tell, you could hear a certain amount, you could feel it, you could see the pulsation in a sense, and the communication. And what the male, basically the father, I see it like a family structure, said was, no good comes with man.
It's true.
And that's why
I listened to the Sierra Sounds. I bought the CD back with me, and me and Dan were sitting there listening to it together.
Amazing.
And if you actually sit and listen to it, you can hear like a male and a female chattering to each other. And sometimes you can actually make out what you think to be the odd human word. It could be my audio pareidolia, but it's so similar with the moods and the emotions and the way they come back and forth with each other. And I think she gets pissed off with him and screams at him at some point. You can hear this going backwards and forward. It is just amazing. It sounds really human-like at points.
Okay.
I've never heard anything like it before ever in my life. It'd be amazing to hear that. It's not the howl or the big whistle that you see everyone doing. These are a chattering and it's not a whooping. It's more like the only way I can describe it is like a chattering backwards and forwards to each other. Absolutely amazing.
And I know people that have heard sounds similar to that in the woods. And they're people who know the woods well, have been out, have lived there, hunted there, done all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's interesting. There's a story that I've been told is true, but the person that told it to me, I know isn't lying, but I don't know his sources, so I can't say it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that Teddy Roosevelt saw one in Colorado.
Oh, I heard that.
Yeah.
And Teddy Roosevelt never ran into anything he didn't want to shoot.
Wasn't he come across 2 at 2 different times, and one he was going to shoot and he couldn't because he said it looked too human-like.
Yeah, it not just looked, it felt, acted was too human. And I don't know about the 2, but yeah, that's exactly.
2. There was apparently he's come across 2, and there's reports of 2. But more fascinating, and Dan would love this, because I don't know if I know Dan's been busy decorating, but my YouTube has been blowing up about dogman sightings. And it's getting more and more and more frequent, these dogman sightings over in America, which would please Dan. So I think if we do get across together, I know what we'll be doing. Dan would go, come on, we're going here, we're going to look for this dogman.
Definitely.
Make sure you got a pork chop with you to throw it in case he's bad.
Dog whistle.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to because a lot of those sightings you hear about them in New England and some of it in the South. And I love New England. The South is beautiful too. There's just lots of other things I don't like about it. But New England is the only part in this country I even begin to feel like I'm at home. So come, we'll hire a car, a bigger car than mine.
I think me and Dan will be doing a world tour at this rate because
No.
we've got lots of sightings of lots of cryptids that we're interested in. And for me, more recently, is the Jersey Devil. I've been sort of reading up about that and the folklore and all that behind that. So I think we're going to have to go on tour, Dan.
Yeah, definitely.
We're going to have
fantastic.
Well, you need me to go with you.
Hire a minibus and off we go.
We'll be like a Scooby-Doo and he's...
Yeah, I'll be the wise one. Right, we're in trouble.
I'll be Shaggy, isn't it? The one who gets scared of everything and runs off.
He's the one that's stoned all the time, isn't he?
But yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? But the thing is, it does concern me, the fact that as a species, we've not even learned to love and respect each other, have we? So
yeah.
So it's a shame that these creatures don't want to come anywhere near us because they know that we're bad news.
Yeah, I mean that's Sierra Sounds. Sierra Sounds is just out of this world. Seriously.
Oh, that's interesting, Katie. Thank you for that. Yeah, do you know what? It's quite beautiful, isn't it, Viv? That audio.
I think it's quite funny. It's like a husband and wife having a go.
Yes, telling him off, isn't it?
Have you done that washing up yet? No, I haven't. I've been busy fixing this. Well, you better get in there and do that washing up. It's a right proper Barney going on between husband and wife, I think.
I love it.
Funny.
I love it.
It's funny.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
But that's something that brings up something to me, that humans get so stupid sometimes and so mean in their stupidity. So often people are going out and banging and doing yells or whatever.
But they get responses. But they get responses back.
But they're making them mad. They don't like it. Well, they are.
I often wonder if these people are going out into the woods and banging these trees and making these sounds and calls, and then there's another team that are researching. They're doing the same thing back again. They're thinking they're getting.
Yeah. Well, I know people. I have friends or acquaintances, I should say, that had a B&B that was featured on Paranormal series for a couple of years, and it was a very haunted place. Nice people, they don't lie, very honest. And there was a researcher. This is up in the mountains. This is closer to 6 hours away from me, not 40 minutes, but in my state. Beautiful area. And this major biologist from University of Idaho or someplace was there researching, and they went up, and they had actually seen a couple across the valley or whatever. And this guy was banging on trees and everything, and he came tearing down the hill in a four-wheeler. My friends had already come down, and the Bigfoot were lobbing huge rocks at him because they were so mad. And they say that. I mean, when you can tune into them telepathically, and they don't like it.
I found that in my research, though, in America, like looking at America, just that one country, that in certain areas they seem to be, some are calm, and in other areas some are aggressive. Like you just have to be riding past on a bike, and these children had big boulders being hurled at them, and missed some literally by inches, which would have killed them. Right. So, and they didn't do anything but just ride their bike down the road. They were going from A to B and just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. So it makes me wonder, because there are different types of Bigfoot. And you get that from just by looking at some of the sightings that are dark. Some of them are more reddy, gingery color, and the Yeti, and they're all different subspecies of each other. are some more aggressive than others? That's what I have to ask. And, are the ones in Oregon calmer than the ones that you're going to find in Kentucky? The ones in Alaska, apparently, they're going to kill you because they're just angry all the time anyway. So, or the theories go. So,
Yeah.
and it's just like people. You get nice people, horrible people, and people you just
right.
won't give them the time of day.
And I don't know that it's so much regional as individuals. And again, I don't necessarily believe these reports. Anybody can say anything they want. And you can fake sounds, you can fake videos, you can do all
But this
kinds of
goes
stuff.
across the world. I mean, the Mandi Burundi in India, which is related to a form of Bigfoot, is very aggressive. And out of all I was telling you, Dan, there was about 475 reports. And out of the 475, only 75 were real. And out of those 75, these Mandi Burundi were stealing and killing children. They were taking children. It's a little bit slightly different, and they are to be feared. So again, what are we looking at? We don't know what we're looking at because no one's actually ever caught one. When I say caught one, I don't want to use caught one because I don't want one to be caught. But no one's actually had any hard, real evidence to say, look, we need a David Attenborough of the Bigfoot world. That's what we need.
Right.
Some way he could explain to us all.
I'm really happy in a way that they've not been discovered to the point that people have got a definitive, idea of where they are and what they are, because I think once they're discovered, then it'll be open season.
And
that's what they're afraid of.
And that terrifies me.
That terrifies me too, but that's also terrifies them.
I'd rather they were never discovered.
Yeah.
To have to be put through that debacle and just nastiness.
Horrible, isn't it?
It's horrible. It's horrible.
But you also look at. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. It's fine. It's fine, William. Sorry, you were saying.
You've got what, 1.5 billion, 2 billion people living in India, and you've got 45 verified cases of sightings.
No, this was in one area. This was in the area of Delhi. They were coming into city centres. And it's because of they were mainly seen for many years in the jungle areas, but they're now moving into city centre areas. And
where's the video?
It wasn't a video. It wasn't a video. It was a documentary.
But I'm saying, it's so hard. Something like that in the capital of a major country would have been all over the news.
Yeah, it was. They had police involved. They had psychiatrists involved. The people that were reporting it were put through the ringer. They really were, which is how they whittled it right down.
Yeah, when was this?
Oh God, now you're asking me. I don't know.
Quite recent, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite recent. Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Why wasn't it on the news all over?
Well, all over. It wouldn't be over the world. It would just be on Indian television.
No, that's a major type of strange event in a world capital.
The thing is,
it would be everywhere.
In India, a lot of their news doesn't necessarily leak out across the world, and to them, it's just something that they wouldn't think too much about because it's a very religious country.
It's not just, isn't it?
Yeah. And so for fear of upsetting it or making it worse, I mean, don't forget India. I say it's a backward country. It's not a backward country. Some of the people there are very backward and they live in this old way and, so, and again, to not upset the masses, it's just kept to local news and stuff like that. You wouldn't have that reported. But it did get reported in some of the papers. I don't know. Well, we didn't hear it over here in England, so.
But, and that's just the thing. This is a world capital. There are tens of millions of people living there, or millions anyway. There's news that affects the world all the time. The city is full of foreign journalists from every part of the world. It seems like it would have gotten out.
This one British journalist picked it up, which is how I found out about it. And I was telling you about it, Dan.
It's interesting. Really an interesting story.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it isn't true. It's very strange to me that something like that, and I understand what you're saying, Vivien, but with the coverage that city gets
I don't hear anything about it from, and bearing in mind I'm half Indian. Unless I stick to my which I don't even bother watching because half the time I've lost the language. The Indian TV programs that we have on cable, you'd never get to hear about it ever.
Don't you think that's like over here? We've had like Bigfoot sightings and we've had Dogman sightings.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there's been about 20 that have been recorded in a certain area recently, which is where myself and Viv are going to be going to see if we can catch one or what have you, see one. And
I need to get over there again.
You must come over.
I need to figure out a way to do this.
You must. But the thing is, when you do see it on TV, it's either ridiculed or they just don't give it. They won't give it time.
Yeah.
So subsequently, I could walk out now, bang into a werewolf, go to the police, report it. It could end up going around like wildfire, but you'd never see it on TV.
No.
Yeah, but when you've got enough, but when you've got enough people reporting something in a major city, and you have dead bodies or you have people disappearing, that's a whole different story.
But the thing is, in somewhere like Delhi, they don't report on the amount of deaths that you just get on the railway.
It's a horrible thing to say, but life's quite cheap, isn't it, in that respect?
It's not reported. You'll never hear about that on mainstream news, and that is something quite serious. You know, people falling in front of trains, and
or falling off trains because they're riding on the roof of it.
But I couldn't get over the fact my friend was there, and he come across a child's body on a railway station. He was out there working with tigers. And he said that he went and reported it to the guy that was in charge of the railway station. And the guy said, "Don't worry, there'll be somebody around to pick him up in a minute." So they've got people that go around collecting dead in the streets.
Yeah.
And it's hard. A child, that break your heart. Well, it did with him. It really affected him, you know.
Even with the beggars, once they're there and they die, so like they get left, and somebody does come around and pick them all up,
picks them up,
just disposes of them,
heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
But if you kill a cow out there on the streets, it's outrage. The human life is worth nothing, but the sacred cow is worth everything.
There have been a lot of people who are cattle farmers and ranchers who are not Hindu, they're Muslim or whatever, in a lot of areas that have been murdered because of that kind of thing. And the murderers don't get in trouble usually. Because we get a lot. I mean, I watch a lot of news from good sources, and things like that get covered here. I get all kinds of news out of India.
Yeah. See, our buffalo out when we used to have the farm, we didn't have cows, but we had buffaloes. And when I was younger, I'd been naughty because I was a bit of a tomboy, believe it or not. I went to the end and I climbed on top of one of them. It was quite docile. It was just there eating grass, doing whatever. And my dad come around, "What are you doing?" I said, "I want to ride a buffalo." But, you know, like the servants and everything are like, "Oh, you know, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be doing that." I said, "Yeah, I just want to have a go on a buffalo because I've got one of them to lift me on, you know, put me on the buffalo." And that thing could have killed me. But again, that is as equally as sacred because it's supplying the family with milk and meat and all sorts of things. And stopping an elephant in the street and just saying, "I want to get on that elephant and have a ride," you know, working elephant, which, you know, so you're not sat on a bench like the tourists. I wanted to ride the elephant properly. So, you know, you can get away with all sorts of things there.
Mm-hmm.
Money talks out there, seriously. It's a corrupt country.
Oh, yeah. But it's an interesting place. It is.
It is. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I should go back there soon, Dan.
We should.
Should we go together?
We definitely should go back. Go back. You go back there, and I'll go with you. Definitely.
But we need about 2 months because it will take about a month to get over Delhi Belly.
Yeah.
No matter how careful you are.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd love to see India.
Mm-hmm. And then another month to get to where your family's from.
Yeah, we'll have to do, Dan, I think it's working out. We need a tour of the Americas, and then we'll have to go after that, have a break, come back, and then get ready to do our world tour.
Do Asia and everywhere else.
Asia, Thailand.
And I'll climb over the ancient ruins, and you guys can go look for cryptoids.
Talking of ancient ruins, in the newspapers this week here, They were talking about the henge that has been dug up, that's been revealed in Cornwall.
Discovered, yes.
I've heard a little bit about something like that.
That looks very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks very, very interesting.
I'm sure there are more of them out there.
How many more are there?
Yeah,
well,
I'm sure there are.
They're finding new stuff over here all the time. I think our technology is getting that much better, and I think where the farmers have been a bit more sort of lenient and allowing people on, and where land's sold, the property developers want it covered over pretty quickly. But I think the farmers here are realising that there is money to be made in it. I mean, especially after, I think is it the beginning of June? We have the treasures from Sutton Hoo and the Staffordshire Hoard are on display at Sutton in Suffolk.
Oh,
They're
coming
together.
Is that what it is? I'm not sure what it was, but okay, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I've seen the Sutton Hoo treasures in the British Museum a couple of times.
They're bringing it back to Sutton Hoo.
Okay,
which is great to see.
Yeah, we were close to Sutton Hoo but we just went to Colchester instead. And that was a good day. But
but we've got lots of investigations coming up. I mean, Dan and I go off. I don't know if you know, but for Striking Midnight, we go off to locations that have never been investigated before, and sometimes they're a good idea, and sometimes they turn really bad.
But really bad is really good.
Bad, really bad.
It's really good because it means that we think we might have. Well, we're sure we've tapped into sort of a resource that's not been tapped into before, and we've had all sorts of amazing, probably the best form of activity that I've ever had. I think.
I was so scared, Dan. It's not the best. It's the it's the worst and the best.
But exciting, so exciting. The thing is, we were there, and we've. It's like we've hit a water pipe, and now we can't. Got to the point where we couldn't stop it, and we walked away. But we went back there a couple of times. We haven't been for a while, and we're going to go back there again. And if it was anything like it was when Viv and myself were there that night, it will. If it was half as good, it would be amazing. So
tell me more about what happened.
There could be a backstory to it as well. It's not just what we saw and experienced. Talking to one of the locals and finding out a little bit of the history of the place we was there, there could be a link as to why certain events happened in history. So, but Dan will tell you about it.
The family have owned it for 1,000 years. They came over with the Norman Conquest, like so many heritage families over here, and they were with William the Conqueror, and the land was sort of given to them.
Right.
And so they got this village, a whole village. It's quite big, for a village, it's quite big. And they got a stately home, or they did have a stately home there, which was called the Hall. And the family are still there today. I think there's one last remaining family member there who carries the name.
It's royal titled, isn't it? It's royal titled.
But she has grandchildren, and when she passes and it goes into their hands, then they have to change their name to.
They lose the title, don't they? Completely.
They have to change their name to the mother's maiden name, which was back to the original name.
Okay.
And they're quite happy to do that. Now the thing is, it's quite extraordinary because two of the houses in the village went out of family hands for whatever reason. And one came up on the market, and the lady she bought it back in, and now she's waiting for the final one to come up. And when she's bought that back into, then that whole village will be back in the family's hands again. The cemetery and church there, which the church itself is getting on for 900 years old, and it's an old Norman church, and that has got the ancestry. They're just complete. They're in there. They're in marble tombs in there, and they're also outside in the actual graveyard itself. So that woman can trade. It's really odd to think that you can go back or live in a village where your family have trod the earth for 1,000 years or more. And all her ancestors are there, just outside the bedroom window, if you like. And she's quite an elusive individual, but her husband died, and they burned the hall, didn't they, Viv? They pulled it down.
Yeah.
And
He took his body lay in state at the hall, and then he was taken to the church. And bearing in mind, a lot of the ancestors are inside the church. He was buried outside, which was in quite a modest grave.
Yeah, it is
beautiful,
a modest grave.
but modest. And
then
then
the house, yeah,
pulled down.
Yeah,
it's just pulled down.
And we asked the church warden as to why that would happen, and he had no idea, did he? He couldn't find rhyme or reason for it. So there's that going on. And then when myself and Viv went there and investigated, we were there during the day, and we went in because there's a particular effigy inside the church that we wanted to see.
Right.
And once we'd seen that, we did a little bit in the church, a little bit of investigating, but we didn't really get anything from that. When we went outside, we were setting up little pieces of equipment that were actually being activated. And then nightfall, it fell. And as it started...
Oh, no, we saw something in the daytime, and I said, oh, Dan, something's just whipped past me, and it's all raggedy and grey. And he goes, oh, it's most probably your eyes. Don't worry about it.
Well, that's what that was. It was getting dusk, wasn't it? And we were looking into camera lens or into cameras. And, of course, you've got the screen, so you've got the light. And you know what it's like when you look up, your eyes can play tricks on you. They try and adjust. And I said to Viv, oh, don't worry. I think that's just something. It's the light. So then I looked up and I saw something and I thought, yeah, no, it's just the light. It's my eyes. It can't be right. And then once we walked away from the cameras and we were just looking and our eyesight adjusted, then I saw something move swiftly across the left to our left. And it must have been about 10 feet away from us, Viv. Not even that, really, was it?
Wow.
But the one I saw, if I'd put my hand out, as it moved past, I would have touched it. That's how close it was.
Very close.
But it moved so quick.
It moved quick, and it was like rags, black, but almost translucent rags. And it looked like those things from Harry Potter, didn't it? It looked like a wraith.
Yeah.
If you ever got the mental image of a wraith in your head, the whole black cloak, like a reaper.
That thing up there on that thing on the shelf there.
Yes, behind.
No face, no hands, just
a shape, humanoid, human shape.
Yeah.
And it moved across, and I said to Viv, I think I've just seen what you were talking about. And then one shot from behind the church, and then one moved up and was kind of just there looking in our direction. And I couldn't equate it in my head because it's like, what's going on here?
I saw 4 of them, and then I was having a nervous breakdown, and I'm saying, Dan, we've got to leave because I've seen 4 of these things. No, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. I'm saying, no, there's 4 of them. He's going, yeah, no, it'll be all right. I'm saying, we don't know what they are. Let's leave.
I felt okay. I felt comfortable, but then I'm not a medium, so I'm not going to be open to attack like that, on a mediumistic level. Whereas with Viv, she is. So, as you know, William, and you probably know better than anybody else as well, that if you're a medium, then they can probably attack you worse than they would like somebody like me who's got none of that ability at all.
I don't know. Maybe, but it's a great way to be able to communicate with them. But I've seen Viv in action.
Yeah, but not if for the wrong reasons. I mean, we don't know what they are. We don't know if they are friendly or whether they are going to attack us. It doesn't look right. For the sake that it doesn't look right means to me is a warning. Just leave.
I felt completely comfortable. I was more like, wow, this is amazing. I want to see if I can try and converse with one of them.
Right.
So I was calling one closer, and it did come a bit closer, didn't it, Viv?
It did come closer.
Said, don't call it. Don't bring it any closer.
You're lucky you weren't the sacrificial offering, Dan. She didn't stab you and take off in the car.
Movies that always gets topped first.
Yeah, leave you behind for them to, and she gets out of the way.
I felt okay with them. I felt okay with them, but then I wasn't dealing with them on the level that maybe a medium would. Do you know what I mean?
The thing with me is because I'm not sure what it was. They were very inquisitive of me and Dan on what we were doing.
Really inquisitive.
Right.
They were zipping past us very closely before darkness fell, which at the time it felt that was okay. But the minute it got dark and you just saw them as black things rather than grey things, I just thought, I'm really feeling uncomfortable. And I said to Dan, like, let's not push our luck because we don't know what they are.
Right.
In all the years that we've been doing this, I've never, ever seen one of these. No,
Yeah.
honestly.
No, they're extraordinary. See, to me, they look like, I thought to myself, these are guardians, like that these are guardians of a cemetery.
That's what they sound like and feel like.
Yeah.
To me,
And then thinking about it, William, I thought there's 4 of them. So you got north, south, north, east, west, and south, north, south.
Yeah.
You've got the 4 points.
Yes.
And then I thought, well, actually, that could very well be guardians of the north, the south, the east, and the west, And I felt they were. I felt they were like guardians. Personally, I didn't feel like they were a problem. I just felt like they were, what are you doing here? Nobody's ever come here and done this at night before. And we're going to keep an eye on you and make sure that you're not here to nefarious reasons.
So
exactly.
my thoughts go back to the hall. Now, he was laying in state in the hall. The minute he was buried, the hall was pulled down. Grade 2 listed building, which is a big no-no here in the UK. The thing was levelled, completely gone. She moved into a smaller house in the village, lives there quite peacefully on her own, and where the hall stood, you can go and visit the gardens. The hall's just not there anymore. Why was that hall pulled down? Were these things in that hall and went with him now to the graveyard? Which puts that edge on it. And I'm thinking to myself, Dan, we need to leave.
Well, I mean, the thing is, was he of a particular character that they were marking him? They were protecting the world from him, or what have you, or you just don't know, do you? Really?
No. But he was also put in consecrated ground, and I could see where a great haul from a family. Although I hate the thought of him being torn down, or frankly, I hate the thought of him leaving the family and turning into hotels. Although I've stayed in some pretty nice ones.
It would, yeah.
But some of those things become dilapidated to the point where they just cannot be maintained anymore. Or
they've got money.
Yeah, but you're talking. There's money and there's money. I mean,
right. So what we're talking about, we're talking about the lady. These are appointed. He's an appointed lord. If we go back in history, we got as far as Henry VIII, and one of his ancestors served in the Tudor court. These are proper lords just bestowed by the crown, not something that you can buy off. Their heritage, yeah. And with that comes an estate, land, money, wealth, and all the rest of it. So there is quite a big backstory to it. I mean, even the hall itself was part of it was rebuilt in the Victorian period, and we went there initially to see one of the ancestors. And there's a great story. Do you want to tell them about the ancestor, Sarah?
Yeah, Sarah was obviously a lady at the time. We're going back to the 18th century now, and Sarah was actually. Bill was sewing on a Sunday, and this reminds you of anything? She pricked her finger, and then she ended up with blood poisoning, and she died purely and simply because she pricked her finger. And they said it was because she was sewing on a Sunday, and it was it was God's day, and that was retribution. Exactly, and of course, that then reminded me of was it the princess? Was it
it's Sleeping Beauty?
Sleeping Beauty. Yeah.
And that was. I did wonder whether the story had come from that, but I think that story actually predates her death by some time. Yeah, and I think it's German in its origins anyway. But she wanted on her death, she wanted an effigy made of her. Just like the sort of the from the stomach up, and
the hands.
And the hands, and she wanted her clothing placed upon this effigy,
And
then
a wig.
And a wig, and she wanted it encased, and that's what they did. So you can go there now and open the door, and you can see an effigy, which is exactly what she would have looked like in life.
Wow.
It's amazing, absolutely phenomenal, and that's the draw to the church. It is a bust, yeah. It is, William.
Yeah.
It is,
Well,
it is
she's actually wearing one of her dresses, and the dress and the wig was hers. I mean, she's not an overly pretty looking woman,
no.
But to me, when I look at her face, I think she's beautiful.
Right.
When I look at her bank balance, I think she was beautiful.
but it was this doing a wax effigy like that. I mean, we're talking about back in the day when Madame Tussauds herself was in England and getting her collection together to start operating out of London. We're talking about back in those days. So to have this done, crudely as it was done, I just think it's amazing. And to put it in a
amazing,
church.
isn't it? It is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Mm.
And this was her dying wish. This was her last wish, apparently. And we went there in search of her to see if we could kind of communicate with her. We didn't get anything from her, but it looks like we might have got something from possibly an ancestor of hers or one of her, one of her family that passed away later on. Yeah. And it was amazing. It was amazing. But we feel now that place has got a lot more to offer. And we think that we want to research it to the point where we may be get a book out about it or something.
Well,
we've kept it quiet as well from other ghost hunters. And the reason we've done this, and people are saying, well, why don't you share venues? Why don't you share places?
They wreck the place.
We can't do that because if you had a ton of ghost hunters just turn up in this village, it would wreck the place and it would become like Borley all over again, like how badly that village and how the villagers are now reacting to ghost hunters and researchers because of what they did. We can't let this place fall into rack and ruin because of ghost hunters. So we keep it so close to our chest, we won't tell anyone.
Oh, you have to. It's a privacy issue. So many things. And my thinking is too, now if you've got a Norman church, often those were on Anglo-Saxon sites.
Yes.
Not always, but often there was already habitation and church there. And some of those places go back, thousands of years even before that.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'd like to know.
The church archaeology, though, the actual church that's standing there now, sometimes you see mason marks, or if you might see a crest or a crown that relates to Queen and Country, King and Country, whatever. What's interesting on this church is somebody has put a mark up there which it's in a shield. When it's in a shield, which normally means royalty, I've done some digging and researching, but there's nothing inside that shield that signifies royalty apart from the handprints of someone.
Okay.
Which is unusual. So we're trying to get to the bottom of why these handprints. What does that mean?
Even the church warden didn't know, did he? He had no idea of the significance of it. And he seemed to be, he'd spent he's been there since, I think he got evacuated as a child there, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then he became the blacksmith in this village. And so he'd spent, he was how old was he, Viv? 70?
It was
or 80
late 70s, early 80s, early 80s, is it?
Yeah, 82 or something, was
something like that. I can't remember.
But he'd been there more or less since he was a child, and he knew very little he knew the history of the village.
Yeah.
But as for the church and stuff, he didn't know the significance of certain things.
Yeah, a lot of that's lost, and some of that got lost during the Reformation.
Yeah.
Catholic churches never have anything in them that isn't significant. Everything means something.
Yeah.
For usual, but then after the Reformation, and then after Cromwell and his further destruction of anything, that represented iconoclasm.
I think the church is this particular church untouched because it seems to have been following the Church of England. It changed over, and it still has a lot of riches. I mean, some of the archaeology inside this church, it is just amazing. They have graffiti. It's round the back. It's where it's out of view of, it's the private areas of the church. They have graffiti from the Second World War. Some of these guys that went out to fight for our country that never came back had signed parts of this thing in the. It was just amazing what was written on there, and the dates on there, and the messages that they were leaving for their families and things like that. It was just. It's got modern history and old history, and but Dan and I are quite lucky because we're stumbling across these places. I mean, there's one that we're hoping to go to soon, which involves a railway crossing.
Yeah.
The things that happened to me and Dan when we were out, seriously, you couldn't make this stuff up, honestly.
It's pretty cool because we tend to go to places that people either haven't done for such a long time because they feel that there's no significance to them, or they've just not been done. People haven't gone out there. So we go out.
Been heard of or something.
Yeah, we just go out and look for things randomly and come across things and we'll have a look at this then. And we're lucky because we do get activity. We get certain things, that happen. It may not be anything brilliant, but it might be a little thing that actually is significant in its own way. But it's interesting. I think there's a lot to be discovered. See, people go to these places that are notorious for hauntings, and then they continually moan that there's nothing going on there. Where we go out to these places where nobody goes, and we get stuff, and some of it we share with people. If it's stuff that, we can share with people, then we'll share it. But the only reason we don't share is not because we want to be covetous and claw it to ourselves. It's that we take into consideration that these are working places and people live in them, and it's not fair then to have an entourage of ghost hunters just turn up by the coachload and trample all over these people's graves and just be, disrespectful to a village at the early hours of the morning.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. And the history then is so closely linked. And then some of this, how far back in history does it go? Those four guardians at the cemetery could go back to the Neolithic or Mesolithic.
They could be pagan in origin.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We've been lucky enough. Then we did that. We went to a place called Castle Acre, which is 1,000 years old, and
which you keep promising to take me to and haven't yet. I will not let you forget that.
We must take.
And the fortified house itself. I mean, totally unprepared for this. Dan and I were sitting there, and we're calling out because there is a haunting, a couple of hauntings that goes on there.
One terrified a member of the team, didn't it? When I wasn't in the team then, but to the point where he would never investigate again, would he?
No, but we were sitting there, and out the corner of our eye, and I think Dawn was with us, and she went, "Shh, shh, shh." What the hell? What do you mean, shh? And she pointed, and as we turned to look, we saw a big cat.
No, that was me who saw it.
Was it you that saw it?
Yeah, me who saw it. Cat. What the? And it came down the steps, and we were like, hang on. Give us a look. It must have been about 12 feet away from us. Looked at us like we were poo on the bottom of its paws, and then just walked off.
It's like, oh, Dad, there's a big cat. He's going, yeah, don't scare it off. He's going, don't scare it off.
But we had that, didn't we? And then we had we were using we were using some form of ovilus or something, and we had the French. It was an old French building. Obviously, it was Norman, and of course we got somebody with a French accent talking to us, a man, and asked. I think it was a daughter of a woman that we used to investigate with. We asked her what it meant. She said it means "hello, sir." So what it had said to me, I said it said this. She's like, it means "hello, sir." And we got conversing with this energy, and then we can only assume it was his wife come along, and she started telling him off, didn't she, for
talking to us? It was just so funny.
Having a big argument. I said that poor man, 1,000 years he's been stuck with that woman. I think it was life and death, and then more death. But he
Yeah.
was stuck with her for 1,000 years, this poor soul. And I thought, if I could give him any relief and get him out of this relationship,
It's so funny though to hear them arguing with one another.
it was hilarious.
It just brings a smile to what we do, you know, and it warms our hearts. Like, oh yeah, they're arguing over there like they would over here.
And the brilliant thing is 1,000 years of history, and they're just people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. You know, the same things going on today as there were then.
Yep.
And it makes you see the humanity in it.
Yeah.
You know, some of it's even very much the same. These big estates often, including now, they may be land rich, but they're cash poor. You had a lot of that back in those days too.
Yeah.
Especially before people could take out mortgages on estates.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, there's so many things. It's like, do you really need a new dress for this ball? We had a low harvest this last year, you know?
Yeah.
Or
exactly.
Yeah.
The same, you know, the same points of contention right the way through history in all families, because it's the human experience, isn't it?
It is.
I think, and that's what a lot of people tend to miss when they go, particularly ghost hunters, when they go on these investigations, is the level of disrespect and the way that they talk to these energies. And I say to people, you know, you've got to be careful because they're just like you and I. And they've still got the same, as far as I know, they've still got the same feelings.
Yeah.
And, you know, you still respect them because they're still people.
The problem is, and I don't care, and I apologise. Well, no, I don't apologise. Actually, I'm going to make no apology. I don't care if I upset you now, but we've had people, Hollywood have bigged up certain people that were fraudulent, and they make films that are not true. We have certain TV programs that they are for entertainment only, but you have people out there that think this thing is the way to ghost hunt is like this, it's real.
Right.
And to me, by not taking your time, why not putting the work in? I mean, Gary's in the chat. He will tell you it takes years to hone in your mediumistic skills. Because you do a course online does not make you a medium.
No.
You know, it takes years to fully understand, home in on certain skills and how to understand it. And it's the same with ghost hunting. There's more to go.
Constantly evolving. It's not like, okay, now I'm perfect at this. No.
And it's like ghost hunting as well. They're, you know, because they got the latest flashy beeping gadget, doesn't make them a ghost hunter. You need to strip that gadget apart. You need to understand its false positives, what it's made of, what it actually does, and what it means. Because it's flashing doesn't mean that there is a spirit that wants to communicate with you. It could be that the energy is just near. Doesn't mean that they're there, and that's a definite yes. You know, and it makes me mad when people, and I see them all the time, and guarantee I will see it when we go out on that. We've got some people coming with us. If somebody says, and I'm in their presence, and they want to call out and they say, hello, if there's spirit here, can you step forward? If they say that, I'm going to slap them around the head, because when you meet
she means it, folks. Listen.
Because when you meet someone for the first time in the flesh, I'm not going to say, hello, my name's Vivien. What's your, like to Dan, can you step forward and tell me your name? Because he'd think I'm off my head. It's like, hi, I'm Vivien. What's your name? You know, I'm Dan. Dan, I say, oh, I'm Dan. Nice to meet you. Yes, nice to meet you. So where are you from then? What do you do? And, you know, you have those conversations like that. You treat them like you would if they were
somebody
alive.
else. Right.
You know,
I have a thing where I say, you know, you have a lot of this, and I fell into that for some time. Are there any spirits here? Are there any disenchanted people? Are there anybody, you know, is there kind of ethereal energies here? And I thought, no, you know what? That's not really how you address people, is it? So now I turn around and say, look, I don't know if you're here. I hope you are. My name is Dan, and I don't know your name. If you could tell me, that would be great. But if not, I hope you don't mind if I refer to you as friend.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. Friend, can you tell me where or you know, because it's just it's a level of respect. You know, it's like I've said to people, you know, you go in there, I've seen them go in there and they're abrasive and they're disrespectful and they're just shouting at the odds.
Yeah.
And I say to them, you know, like, this is someone's parent or grandparent or child.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you be happy if somebody spoke to one of your family like that? You know, whether they're living or dead. Would you be happy if you thought that somebody was speaking to a member of your family that passed over and they were addressing them the same way that you addressed them?
Yeah.
Because that's not acceptable on any level. You know, you treat these people because they're people. You treat them the same as you would if they were alive. There's no difference. You know, the only difference is that we got a physical body and they haven't. That's it.
I treat the dead better than I treat the living.
Absolutely.
The other thing that really annoys me is to me, I mean, I'm not overly religious. I believe in certain things. I believe in what I believe in, and that's it. I won't be swayed. But I have my beliefs, and I respect every other person that have their own individual beliefs. Now, taking a Ouija board into a working church where they hold mass or Sunday service or whatever you want to call it. So, so they have it's a working church, and you see these ghost hunters that go in there with a Ouija board. To me, that's disrespectful. Do it outside of the church, by all means, but inside a working church, these ghost hunters that do that, honestly, they need a big slap around their face and they need a wake-up call. Because I know that if you did that in a mosque out in the Middle East, they'd cut your in fact they'd cut your head off, not your hands.
To be honest, that's fair enough, though, isn't it? Really, I mean, it's awful. It's awful the level of disrespect that you get. They give to spirit, you know, to non-living, living but different type of life people. You know, it's awful. It's just it's horrific.
Yeah.
And I see them, and sometimes I just want to grab them by the neck and throw them out. On
like common sense goes out the window, isn't it, Dan? All common sense goes, and you just
absolutely.
Think, oh, God.
You know, we're always respectful, aren't we? We always, to the point where if we leave a cemetery, we say, well, thank you ever so much, God bless you. That type of thing. You know, it doesn't take much. It's just showing your appreciation.
Yeah, being a reasonable human being to other beings.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And even in some churches, even things like cameras, they don't. It's disrespectful to take a picture. I've been to many churches that way, and it's not because they want you to buy the book or the postcards. I've been to churches that way too. A lot of the really famous ones or major spots. That's part of how they keep the roof from leaking and the pipe work and working. And I get it. I don't have a problem. Or you pay a fee to take pictures. You know, I get that.
I think common sense
some of them
flies out the window with a lot of people. They just have none.
Yeah. I got in trouble once from an old lady in Russia. I was in a village museum, you know, where they bring in different buildings and churches and different things from different villages. And you wander through, is it Russia or Poland? I think it was Russia. Anyway, and you wander through and, you know, it's a museum of these buildings, and I didn't see a sign or anything, and I was taking pictures, and the woman sitting there, kind of the guardian, she was quite upset that I did that. And I think there was a picture, I think there was a sign that I hadn't noticed, but it was a respect thing. And even though it wasn't used as a church anymore, and it was, you know, shoot, the building wasn't, I don't think, any bigger than my living room. And if you've been here, it's not a huge room. It's pretty modest. I don't live in one of the great houses. I'd like to, with the income to run it properly.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, but you know, it's so easy. We just don't think, and especially people over here. We have a lot that's pretty secular, and we've got a lot of wonderful people in this country. But we also, you know, we're started by misfits and convicts or people running away, and then as people came this way, it cost a lot of money to immigrate to the West. Oh,
I've,
a
I've,
wagon.
I've noticed though, the way that you guys investigate is completely different to what we do over here. Whereas I think the ghost tours are more popular there, or you'd go to a haunted place and it will be more of a tour, rather than them hiring it out and you have a load of misfits running around and acting like idiots, unsupervised. It's quite controlled over in America, what I've seen when I've been over there. But over here in the UK, oh my God, it's just like a free-for-all, seriously. If a place then sort of comes onto the scene and they're renting it out to ghost hunters, and it's all a money-making factory for them.
Yeah, it is over here.
And the money then becomes more important, especially what with COVID we've just had. People need revenue to help pay for bills and costs and try and claw back some of the money that they lost. And so it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse over here. It's ridiculous.
And I think we have some of that here in certain locations. I haven't been to those locations, so I don't know. I don't pay to go on an investigation. You know me. I get bored on investigations after a while. I go to talk to the dead and to the people and to read the history and see what they want to tell me and what they want to show me. And it's great when there's a physical experience. I love that. It helps give reinforcement to the rest of it. But sitting around watching lights and stuff for 5 hours, I'm ready for a nap. And, once I'm done, it's like, okay, I'll hang out and we'll do, but I'll probably go wander off and explore some little nook and cranny and see if I can make contact. But I'm probably not going to have anything with me but me. And I take video to record what I, myself.
Well, me and Dan are quite lucky because, especially now this time of year, we'll go off somewhere, and if nothing much is happening, we're like, should we have a coffee? We sit down and we have a coffee, we have a natter, and
we have a social evening. I'm very proud.
It's at that point stuff happens when we're having a coffee. We don't notice.
Absolutely. And when I do have an event, because sometimes I do these things for fundraisers, or, well, Vivien, you helped. You were a big part of a major fundraiser for a museum house I'm on the board of. And it was a brilliant night. And I do them also for classes as part of a workshop that I'm teaching. But it's not the the purpose of those are always developing the psychic aspect, the mediumship aspect, and the physical the equipment or whatever is secondary. It's and part of I have a very strict rule system for my events and classes. You treat everyone with respect. You don't tell them what they need to know or do. You leave them alone. You don't send them away. And,
you can't. That's the thing. They can't. You can't send something into the heart. No.
All they can do is make it mad. And so most of the time, they're not trapped souls or spirits usually anyway. It's energy. It's psyche. It's all kinds of stuff. The soul goes off and does what it needs to do. Parts of us want to come back and visit. Part maybe remains, but it's not that, so it's, and I get in trouble, but I don't care. It's part of my charm.
The best person that got into trouble by trying to explain, and they're not a medium, they don't claim to be, but in our experience, isn't it, Dan, there was a certain gentleman in California, and if you ask him about mediums that try to send people out onto the light,
brilliant,
but he speaks the truth.
I know who you mean. I think
William.
You know who he is.
He's brilliant.
I haven't met him in person yet, but I would love to.
Never a true word spoken, honestly. It's just from being them and just from speaking what's in their mind. I'm just thinking, actually, this man actually speaks sense. But a lot of people don't like him because he does that, you say something that somebody else doesn't agree with, and all of a sudden you're the bad guy, because you're sort of raining on their parade. But it's all a matter of education. And Dan will tell you, he'll say he's as psychic as a brick. But even Dan picks up on certain energies and he's working with them. And the stuff that we get. I mean, when you look at me and Dan, I suppose we're a little bit like Laura and Hardy in every sense, with the comedy, the size, and me crying, and you're going, yes, but it's what we come here for. Viv, don't cry, and and I think sometimes
Vivien screaming and jumping on our laps.
Yeah,
I've had that experience with Devin.
The spirits seem to, I don't know what it is, but they pick up on our energy. Our energy flow must be right. The fact that because before I was with Dan, we'd go out, we'd investigate with big groups, and it sort of entwines with our energy, and we never get much. But when it is just me and Dan, it just seems to, I don't know what it is about us, Dan.
I think
you're approachable. They can like you. They don't feel threatened. They're approachable.
Yes.
And you're respectful. And I think that's
and also think they think to themselves, oh, these are a couple of idiots. What damage can they do?
Well, there could be that too. But that kind of thing makes a big difference. It's who are you going to greet in your house? The people that are being nice, having fun, enjoying you and your house, your location, or the idiots that are running around trying to be whatever. And I'm not trying to be rude to anybody.
It's fine, isn't it? Because it's being human, isn't it?
Yeah. And
it's being human.
And it's just, it's a lack of education on a lot of people's parts. And some people, people are people. We started this with Bigfoot a while back. You get all kinds of people and all kinds of motivation and all kinds of understanding or lack thereof. And patiently explaining and understanding and trying to teach, I find is a helpful way to work with this. And I've made a difference to some people.
But you know that I've been doing mediumship for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught classes, both beginners, intermediates, through to trance mediumship. I've done the churches, I've done platform work, I've worked within the paranormal field to help people with issues and problems, did all the courses, got all the qualifications, got all the letters after my name and all the rest of it. It doesn't mean a thing. Mm-mm. Because every day we're always learning. And I've got to thank you, Dan, because since I think now the last 2 years, has it been, Dan, we've been doing this together?
Yeah, must be.
I've learned so much from that man there, just on being calm, being a bit more methodical. He's taught me things that and it's normal everyday things. It's not working on the spiritual bit. It's normal every day that I don't just use in paranormal work, but I incorporate in my everyday work, because Dan's also teaching me, and Disney doesn't even realise, because, well, I don't know what you're talking about, or I don't know what I'm doing myself, But I actually learn from Dan as well.
But I work both ways, though.
And I've got to thank Dan for that, because if it wasn't for Dan, I wouldn't be seeing and experiencing and the most profound thing that's ever happened in my career with these 4, I'm going to call them spooky spectres.
Spooky spectres.
That really did frighten. I would never have been able, and I'm honoured that I was able to see that. Scary, yes. But without working with Dan on that level with Dan and seeing these other things that we've seen together, that would never have happened. So I've got to thank Dan for that, because I'm learning from him every day.
Well, it's the same with you, though, Viv. There's things that I've seen on my way home.
You blame me for
it. There's things I've seen that I would never have seen. I mean, prime example was the chap on the motorbike.
Yeah.
I saw a guy on a motorbike without a crash helmet. It looked like he was from the 60s, 50s or 60s. And he was dressed like, we used to call them here, ton-up boys.
Ton-up boys, yeah.
Yeah, ton-up boys. They used to have motorbikes with low-slung handles, and they called ton-up boys because they used to do 100 miles an hour going up and down roads. And most of them, a lot of them got killed.
Yeah.
And I saw one, and he was just, we passed him on the way to an investigation, and it was getting dusk, and I looked and thought, what on earth? It's that thing, isn't it? You look at you look at something. I mean, I'm not good at picking up on spirit or what have you, and one could come and tap me on the shoulder and say, hello, I'm a spirit, and I still wouldn't get it.
Yeah,
I still wouldn't know if it was or not. But there's sometimes you look at something, you think there's something not quite right with this picture. Something looks out of place with it. I can't put my finger on it, but there's some. And now I've learned that when I have that kind of experience, and that question is the first question I ask myself when I see something, I know then that chances are it's probably spiritual. And I saw this guy, the motorbike, was this like ton-up boy, and he looked like he was from the 50s and 60s. But he was in the most weird place. He was like in a wood.
So you said, "Did you see that?" And I went,
And I said to you, did you see him?
"What?" I said, "Nothing. No, I didn't see
him,
nothing."
Yeah. It's just odd, different experiences here, which are great, really. It's great, you know, but
well, and it also proves another point. Entities aren't just from 5,000 years ago or 500 years ago. The guy you see, I've seen people on the street corner in the middle of the day and then they're gone that are from the 60s, 70s, 80s. Some of it's been physical sight, some of it's been psychic, third eye sight, some of it's been a combination that happens. And so it's not just the ancient past. The best EVP I'd ever heard, I got with Martina Baker. She got it, actually. I was with her. And it was somebody who just jumped off the cliff 6 weeks before or something. And he was at peace. That's what it said.
Yeah.
We asked if he jumped, and he said at peace. That's peace.
good.
And
That's nice.
Well, good that he jumped, but it's good that he's at peace.
Peace.
yeah. And I mean, and so talk about a new event, you know, that's he's the one. They discovered him 6 hours before I was going to be giving a tour in that exact same spot. So it's
and it's funny as well. You know, I live in quite a haunted house. And,
yes, you do.
It's not an old house. It's a relatively modern house, but the ground it was built on is something else. And, you know, there's something quite physical in this house. Things get thrown, things crash, you hear footsteps, you see the shadows. And, you know, I saw it the day I moved in. It actually walked past me the day I moved in. And people said to me, "Well, you're medium. Why don't you get rid of it? Why don't you sort it out?" And I said, "Well, no, why should I? Because he was here before me. I'm quite willing to share my home with him if that's what I've got to do." But it's funny because the activity's ramping up again. But Dan was here. Viv, there's something in your garden. What?
There's a bloke in your garden. She went, "What do you look like?" I went, "Well, he was dressed in like a grey or like a grey." And she went, then she said, "That's the railway guy dressed in blue, isn't it? Normally,
blue, yeah.
They look like grey." And I just saw him move across, and I looked in because I thought, is that a reflection from something behind me in these doors? And I looked behind me and thought, no, it's not. That's some bloke I just saw walking past Viv's back door in the garden. But I mean, he's perfectly harmless, isn't he, Viv?
Well, he threw a pot at me.
But was that? Do you reckon he was trying to get your attention for something, though?
I think so. And he also said to Andy in his ear, and he got in, and he's a non-believer, my husband. Yeah. He got into bed and he heard the words right here in his ear, "Who are you?" And it weren't me. He was fast asleep, snoring next to him. Who are you? Wait, he didn't say "Who are you?" It said "Who the F are you?"
Oh, did it?
Yeah, in a man's voice. And so we have if we all else fails, Dan, we have to investigate this house because it hasn't never been investigated before. And people are saying to me, you know, because I said that I saw this thing in my house again, and they said, "Oh, you need to get the paranormal investigators in." And I said, "Well, what am I? What is Dan?" Oh yeah.
And my question is why? You know, there's somebody there. You don't need to go investigate to communicate.
No, exactly.
And investigation ramps up things often.
Yeah.
I've talked a lot of people out of investigation because I've been able to communicate with the entities and they've figured out, I can live with it and we don't need to make it worse.
I can live with it and it won't make it worse because I can deal with it. That's the difference. And as I said to Dan, if something does happen and we get pots thrown at us, we make a good episode for Striking Midnight with me running out the house and, I've got to live in that house,
But the haunted bedroom in your house, which I stay in, is really nice. It's really got a good feeling about it.
Now, which bedroom is that?
Feeling.
Was that Damon's room?
In the same room, William.
Damon's old room, yeah.
Okay, no, I stayed in the other room because Damon was still there.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I've slept in there and it's lovely. It's really peaceful and quiet and just.
It's only because you like the mattress. Just tell the truth.
Mattress, yeah. Mind you, there could be spirits in there and I wouldn't notice. I'd be way in dreamland, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's what it is, isn't it? If you've got spirits in your house, you've got them here. You know, if I had spirits here, and I probably have, I'm quite happy to share.
Oh,
my house
my house gets very active. My parents had it built. It was fields when I was a kid, this whole subdivision. I don't know if there were ever people living right here. I've heard footsteps running down the street outside when there's been nobody out there.
I've been shaken in your bed.
Yes.
Not in your bed, but in the spare bedroom.
Yes, I thought we'd better clarify that. Especially in case Andy listens. And the shadowy figures and the voices and the footsteps across the living room and sometimes on the ceiling.
I've been witness to that.
Yep. And Todd and Martina were over for dinner a couple of weeks ago, and the house was crazy. It always, having a second medium in the house always makes it. So when Vivien's here, there's more.
There's the energy, I guess.
Martina's here, there's more. It's like, we're here. Look at us. Pay attention.
Do you know what I find amazing? When I sit in a certain spot in William's house and he's got this light fitting, and when he's got the lights on and it's dark outside, it throws a reflection on the window. And when I look at that reflection, pareidolia is fantastic because I see people being hung by the neck, like old-fashioned England, when they do it on a frame. And
like a gallows?
Like a frame.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yes.
On a tree, like the Tyburn tree.
Yeah.
That's what I see with people hanging by their neck like that. And I said,
from my chandelier.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it is? The chandelier?
That's what I see, yeah.
And it's not a crystal chandelier, and so it's not reflections on prisms. I wish it was a crystal chandelier. I like those better. But yeah.
But you know what I think that is showing me though, William, and I've seen it twice now in November when I was there, and then again in March. I think that is showing me the indigenous people, the tribes, the men that were hung for doing that, killing that and I found about that by accident because it's funny because I was reading a book about psychopaths, and then it started talking about a prison in. Can you remember the name that I was telling you at the sea when we was at the seaside that this doctor and his wife was trying to prescribe medicines to the tribe because the white man had
the Whitman massacre.
Yeah. So I've got a feeling those 5 that were hung that weren't responsible. I think it's something to do with that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that very well could be because that was. As the crow flies, a mile-ish from me, 1.5 miles.
Wow, that's not far at all, is it?
No. So it's possible. Very different tribes than the ones that were here. Yeah. Although those tribes would have come here before all the settlement for hunting and gathering and fishing. Because
it's funny because I'm saying to William, I can see these people hanging, and he's going, it's just. I say, I know it's pareidolia, and I'm thinking, and then I opened this book, and I'm reading about this prison, and it went into some history about these guys that were hung, and it was the wrong guys, the guys that did it actually got away, and anyway. I'm thinking, and I said to William about this. He said, and he was, explaining what his knowledge of that history was. So I said, that is amazing. And I'm putting 2 and 2 together. I'm saying, I'm seeing these people hanging in his window.
Yeah.
And there it is.
And I've taken her to the spot of about where they were, and it's a very active haunted place in Oregon City,
Oh,
and
wow.
it's outside. It's not inside,
No.
and the activity is usually from Europeans, not Native Americans. Yeah, but
That's odd, isn't it?
well, when I would tell the full story, the sense I would get is the settlers, the Europeans, grateful for having the records set straight that they killed innocent people. And now some of the activity is native, I think, because before I tell stories, I'll have people going in there feeling like they're choking.
Right.
In fact, I've had people had to leave and on a tour or something or a class because of that. And they didn't know, it's not a mental thing because they'd heard the stories. They had no idea
Right.
at the time. And in fact, the night that I was with Todd and Martina, and we had radio show people and TV cameras and people who had won part of the investigation with the radio show and all this stuff. I mean, it was a big deal. And most of the people felt that, and they had no idea where they were. We hadn't talked about anything yet. And down in another place where I've taken Vivien, all the TV cameras quit working. These are people who had been professionals at this for years and years and years, had never seen anything like it before. But that's different. That was a different group.
But don't forget that spirit can also give you some nice stuff. And I want to just bring the Shanghai Tunnels up just quickly, because when I was in the Shanghai Tunnels, and we didn't realise this at first, but there's a certain young gentleman and myself that were mucking around and just being naughty, as you do, like the naughty children. And William had gone off with the tour and, being very good. But we then had a fit of the giggles that we didn't know why we were laughing. It then got to the point where it wasn't funny anymore. It was hurting. Both of us couldn't handle it. Even the guy that stood at the back to make sure that we, caught up with everyone, he was doing the same, and he didn't know why he was laughing. The guy didn't know why he was laughing, and I didn't know why we were laughing. Anyway, we hurried along out of it. The minute we got out of that area, we stopped laughing, and we sort of came back to normal. And we were we better catch up with the rest of the tour, And then when we were leaving, the guy that was at the back the staff that was making sure that everyone was together, he pulled us to one side and he said, "You do realise when we had that fit of the giggles?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Can you tell me why you were laughing?" And I said, "No idea." He said, "It's quite interesting because we were standing right in the middle of the opium den."
Oh. Had other people had the same experience then? No,
not on that tour.
No, sorry. Like overall, he said that there'd been other people that have had the same experience at all, or
it never happened to him. No, but it was funny. And I said to William, "That was great." I said, "I actually had drugs without actually having drugs."
Experience opium.
I know, you got to get high without having anything show up in your blood. I had a student at the in a class at Coffee Rush have a very similar, different experience somewhat, but she was sitting on the lap of a guy who had opium.
Yeah.
And
it's great. I tell you, the guy in question that was with me, it was just so funny at first, but then it wasn't funny anymore, and then it was like hurting because you're laughing too much, and and then I've got a habit when I go into a fit of giggles, proper giggles, I hold my breath, can't breathe. I said to him, "You've got to stop laughing now because I'm going to faint in a minute."
I love it.
Interesting.
So spirit can do some nice stuff, like get you drunk or get you high, or
talk to you when you don't know that it's actually spirit.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. I like it. I really value and appreciate them.
I love it when they swear at me.
I always get called awful things.
I know.
Always.
I
Viv was
don't.
there the first time we went into this purportedly haunted property. I turned the thing on it, told me, well, I'm not going to say, but it was awful. But they keep telling me where I should go.
I think it's great because
Oh, it's brilliant.
I start laughing, and then it lifts all the atmosphere, and the energy is lifted because we're laughing. You're laughing because you've just been
I
told
laugh.
to.
I start laughing. I just go, oh, that's charming. Do
Yeah.
you kiss your mother with that tongue? But it's not. I don't mind. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I'm really grateful for the ability to interact with them and do things.
Exactly. It's a gift, isn't it? It's such a gift.
Yeah, I think mediumship, psychic ability is pretty innate in everybody to various degrees. Everybody, I think, has it. It's part of what kept us from getting eaten by saber-toothed tigers and avoiding the other Neanderthals club or whatever. But we live in a society and in a world that doesn't promote it or use it or whatever, so it goes, it goes away. But I'm very grateful. The part that I see as a gift is the communications and I've made a lot of really good friends that just happen to don't breathe.
But I must say,
yeah.
I must say, and I must echo what that. There's a fantastic medium over in the States called Ancestor Sarah, and I have to echo what she has said because I found myself doing exactly the same as her. I've spent 30 years, 30 years plus, giving free readings, free classes, free lectures, free everything. I've even helped people with court cases. I've done everything for free. I've counselled people when they were grieving. I've done all this for free, and I've spent all that time learning and working in the industry. And now, all these years later, I can charge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't charge a great deal of money. It's up to me what I charge, and the same with her and yourself, William.
Right.
But we've spent all these years learning, working with organisations and bettering ourselves and getting a greater understanding to be able to do that. And it really does anger me that somebody that just does a course for one day can then charge £60 or $100, come and sit with me for an hour. It doesn't work like that. It really doesn't work.
And you have, I mean, there's so many pieces to it. And I try to explain, I don't know if it angers me or not. And I've had some wonderful people who have taken classes from me a few times and then come to me and say, how much should I charge? And after I drop push my drop jaw back up, it's like, well, how do you know that you're being accurate? Well, I feel this and I get this, but has anybody told you that you were right? Well, no. I've only done with people at this type of situation or whatever, or this or that. And my advice is that, well, I think you might want to do some more work before you start looking.
Try at least 10 years of working and developing, and then come back and ask that question.
I was probably doing it for about 40 years before.
Yeah. I was 30 plus years, and I think
I'm older than you are.
But you look better, William.
Oh no, not at all. But I started towards the end of, I started working on it the end of high school, first part of college, right in there. Yeah. So I was 16, 17, 18, somewhere in there when I started actually working on development. And I'm older than that now.
Do you know how much I charge Dan?
How much?
£2.50. Thank you very much. That's what I say to him. £2.50. And he says, "Can I give you some sweets instead?" And I said, "That's a deal."
We trade in sweets.
A tank of petrol.
I tell you what, this is what bamboo. I mean, I do get frustrated, not with mediums, but with people that profess to be mediums. People that when you go on an investigation and I'm the only one on there without any form of abilities, and you can guarantee the world is capped on mediums now. And they're not. They're clearly not. And to give you a prime example, I worked with this lady, and she was very intent on getting my team into TV work. And we were like, well, we're all right doing what we're doing. We're quite happy doing what we're doing. We don't want to go down that route because we don't want to be compromised and then be put in a situation where what we're saying is not right, or we're lying, or we're going along with lies to promote, this, whatever it was. And she was fine. But she kept on and on and on. And then I had worked with two people that were mediums like yourselves, real bona fide mediums, very good. Very nice people. And like you two, they've been doing it for years and years and years. And of course, they practiced it and they didn't charge, but then they did charge because obviously it's a way of earning a living, but they didn't charge fortunes. And people were happy, more than happy with what they were getting from them. Anyway, she'd clocked on that this was a bit of she could turn it into a money-making scam, really.
Yeah.
And so we went on an investigation. She'd been with us for about a month, sort of following us around and stuff like that. And then I said to her, look, you want to come out in this investigation? It's a very, very haunted church. It's a big old church, very haunted. I'll give you some idea of the activity there. So we went there, and there were a couple of bits and bobs that happened. And then she said, right, I'm going to leave now. And it was about 3 a.m. And I said, look, I'll walk you out to your car because it's pitch black outside. I'll walk you across the cemetery to your car, and then you can go home. So she said to me, oh, I'm a medium. Right, didn't mention this before. Never mentioned it once. And I was kind of like, oh, okay. How long have you been a medium? And I kid you not, her answer to me was, I decided this afternoon. And I said, sorry? I decided I'm going to be a medium this afternoon. And I said, but it's not dress up. These are real abilities that people have got. These are gifts that they're the real thing. It's not, you just can't put, something on. Are you, Jamie? You just can't put something on and then pretend to be that thing. No. Unless you're about 5 or 6. And then after that, the real world hits.
Yeah.
And you have to, and it was like, I never saw her again. Never saw her again. And I don't know what happened to her, but it was mostly because, it was partly because she didn't contact us, and it was mostly because we didn't seek her out anymore.
Right.
Well, no,
don't blame you.
That's no, absolutely not.
And I feel. Oh, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, sorry, William. No, you're fine. Sorry.
No, it's just between likes and ADHD. I feel I'm not so much angry at people as a little compassionate, in that so many people are looking for a way to be special and to do something that can be an identity that sets them apart in a way that makes them
but it can also be very dangerous, because, and I'll give you an example why it can be dangerous. I had a friend that went. I used to do the spiritualist churches. I used to serve the churches and do the what we call the platform work, your gallery reading work within the churches. I used to do the circuits, and a couple of local churches I joined, but I had my main church, which was in a different county to where this story that I'm going to tell you happened. But through the spiritualist church, I met a friend, and she had a teenage boy that had OCD, ADHD, some autism, and it was quite extreme.
Right.
He got unwell, and she decided to take her son to this other spiritualist church on a Saturday that did their spiritual healing days. And this is someone attributed to a spiritualist church, let me add, as well. So it's not just somebody that's an outsider claiming to be. This actually was within the spiritualist church. And he had his healing done from the church. And she'd said, because you go in privately, and she said to him, how was it? Oh, it's fine, Mum. He then went home, got in the shower with a wire steel, the wire wall scrubbing brush thing,
Yeah.
Brillo pads, we call them here, and bleach, and then proceeded to take the skin off his body in the shower with wire wool and bleach. And he gained 2nd-degree burns. It was quite serious that she had ended up taking to the hospital. So some weeks later now, she found my number and rang me. Viv, I've got to tell you about what happened. And I said, and this happened after he went to the spiritualist church. And she said, yeah. She said, I managed to get him to talk to me. And this healer had told him to remove all his heavy metal records and bin them, remove all the posters and bin them. He had a black mass that was consuming the entirety of his body, that he was, what was it she was saying? He was like unclean. She was saying that he had all these daggers in his back that had to be removed, and there was some more internally that he'd have to keep coming back to have this work done, which he was paying for, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
And that he had all these different attachments on him, and he'd managed to this healer had managed to remove a couple of them, but it would have to come back next week for more and all the rest of it. So that prompted him to go off and do this. I said, right, give me his name. So she said, what are you going to do? And she knew me by school and reputation. I said, no, give me his name. She said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to go and get myself some healing. So I went to that spiritualist church. Now, bearing in mind that I visit that church as a visiting medium, I didn't get involved with the healers because that side of two different things.
Yeah.
So and I walked in there, and of course some of the girls behind the counter knew me. Oh, Vivien, that was nice to see. I said, I've come to get some healing today. She says, oh, right. She asked if I've got any slots open for you. I said, no, I want this healer. She said, well, he's fully booked. He's one of our more popular ones. I went, really? I said, okay. I said, I'll wait. I said, I'll be the last one he sees of the day. And she said, oh, I don't know. Oh, but being here that it's you. She says, go on then, we'll sneak you on the end. So I waited all day, had my tea, chatting to the old ladies like you do. Got in to see him. And he laid me on this table. And I was talking to him, and I said, oh, I've never heard of you before. General chit-chat. Oh, yeah, I'm new. And I said, how long have you been doing it? A month.
Yeah.
A month. I went, oh, right. I said, so you're quite new to this. He said, oh, yeah. He says, I'm studying to do this, that, and the other. And he was, quite impressive, giving it all the. And then he started talking to me about my attachments and how I had daggers in my back, and how he found a black mass in my stomach that he managed to remove. That I had these attachments, but I'd have to come back and have this attachment. I said, right. I let him do what he had to do. And then I got up off the table. I said, oi, you, before you disappear, come back. I said, you don't know who I am, do you? And he said, no. I said, I told him my name. He said, I've heard of that name, but I said, I'm a spiritualist medium. I said, I want to discuss with you what you did to this boy. And he sat and he was absolutely gobsmacked. And I said, you are not a healer. You've been doing it a month. I don't even know what organisations. I see no certificates. I said, I see no recommendations. I said, I suggest you go back to the Arthur Finlay College and get some proper spiritual healing. I said, I don't want you to step foot in this church until you have those certificates. And if I do, I'm going to out you as the fraud that you are. I said, I'm known in this church and I know the chairman very well. I said, and once that happens, the churches talk to one another. I said, and you will never, ever step foot or practice healing if I can help it. And with that, he apologised. He apologised profusely. I said, I don't think you realise the damage that you've caused to this man who could have lost his life because of you, because he did something so serious to himself. I said, the human mind is the most complex thing in the world. Forget your healing. You need to understand there's more than just healing that goes on. You've got a duty of care for your patients.
Right.
I said, now, get your stuff, get out of this church. and do not come back. I said, I'll be back next week. And I said, if you're here, I said, that's when my mouth will start going. And I came back the following week to see, and I brought the mum with me. He wasn't there. Never heard of him again. I don't think he ever practiced again.
Good.
Yeah.
You should
But
be.
my point is, if you don't get the proper training and guidance, and it doesn't happen overnight, you can't just do one course and expect to be doing mediumship or healing without it having consequences. Yeah, but if you've got consequences, and it's duty of care that person you're giving the messages to, because they're looking for loved one. They might be grieving.
That's right.
They might have something not quite right with them. There might be something else going on, and they're coming to you for help. That's why they come for a reading. Right. So if you can't do it properly, I say don't do it at all.
Yeah.
And again with the healers, if you don't know what you're doing, do not do it at all. And this is why I get mad and angry, because I've seen firsthand the damage it can do to people.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
Quite serious. It's quite serious.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. And I would be very angry at those people too. I'm mostly referring to the ones that you see that show up at the investigation, whatever, and they need to be a medium or need to be psychic because of, and I get it. There are a lot of broken people in the world looking for something.
Yeah.
And that's when I try to educate, or it depends on the situation. Sometimes I just ignore it. Sometimes I'll try to educate a little bit or question.
See, I'm quite heavy-handed. I'll go in guns blazing. I'll be like, "Go on, Dan, go and beat them up. I've found out they've done this. Go on, Dan, go and give them a knockout punch. Push him forward. Go on, Dan,
I think Vivien, you'd give the knockout punch better than Dan.
She
Dan's
would.
a much nicer person.
She would. If there's trouble brewing, I'll be hiding behind her.
Yeah.
Push me forward.
Yeah.
Dan, you
She's
look
my
scary.
protector.
You look scary.
Jamie knows her.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Jamie knows her.
It's definitely. I mean, I couldn't agree more with. There's so much that does so much damage, in so many ways. I mean, physical, spiritual, mental.
Yeah.
People in general. There are people out there, and just because the person has broken something doesn't mean they should be allowed, if they're doing something dangerous, to continue it. You have to stop people from doing things that are dangerous.
I think it was ego. I think that is ego, and this is the
trap
that people fall into. Like mediumship takes a long time to perfect that, and again,
and you have to develop the people skills to go along with the mediumship part, so you know how to communicate and explain and work with people and watch them. And I'm not going to say I'm an expert at reading people, but you have to be aware if you're triggering something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And again, with the healing, you know, if God forbid, and I know this has happened, not me, oh, bless you, Susie. I've heard of people that have stopped having life-saving cancer treatments because of healers that say, I can heal you and I can take that cancer away. That is just as that basically, if they pass over from cancer and they stop having that cancer treatment because this healer is, that's manslaughter.
I think so.
If not murder.
Yeah. Well, you've killed them, haven't you, really? You told them to get any treatment, you've killed them.
Yeah.
And I've heard of this happening, and it's not just here in the UK, right across the world.
Oh, it happens here too. It happens in a lot of different countries, some places more so than others. And yeah, it's people taking advantage. Ego, it's exactly right. That's part of what I was trying to talk about with the need for the self to be special, the self-worth and everything. And it's ego, and that's usually because of inferiority, and I mean it's a mess.
But Dan's seen it. We've seen it with paranormal investigators, haven't we?
Oh, Dan? Yeah, the same thing. The field draws a lot. The field draws a lot of interesting people, and a lot of them. That's also why you see so many people that jump into conspiracy theories all the time, or whatever else. They're looking for something special. And
Yeah.
there are a lot of really
Oh,
good,
yeah.
legitimate people out there too.
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
trying to.
yeah.
I'm just saying this is a field that, because of its nature, I think attracts some of the people that are a little bit less balanced along those lines.
It does, unfortunately. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. It also attracts some of the most wonderful people I've ever met. And
It
some
does.
of the smartest and best educated and everything else. So
It does.
Do you know what? I do like an eccentric, though, don't you, Dan? If you get an eccentric,
I think anybody that does this in this field is an eccentric to a degree.
Well, I take it
We
as a
all are.
compliment. Yeah. When people call me eccentric instead of crazy, I feel like
I'm not eccentric. I'm not eccentric. I'm just common.
No.
You're eccentric. We're all eccentric.
No, Vivien, I think you're round the bend.
You need a good healer.
Sorry, Katie, I'm not laughing at you. And
Katie, I've got to tell you.
Yeah, you're right, Katie.
He did recover from it. It took a long time for his wounds to heal. He did go to the hospital and he was treated there. And I worked with him, I think, for about 3 years afterwards. And he actually joined my circle as a developing medium. And his concentration and his willingness to learn just helped him in everyday life, you know.
Good.
And there is a happy ending to it, but he is scarred for life because of that stupid man.
Yeah. Well, you know, folks, I would like to keep going, but it's 9 minutes to 4. So 9 minutes to midnight, your turn. And at 5 o'clock my time, I need to be at a fundraiser, working with showing people around, and I should help them set up a bit. And so I think we're going to have to end this for this session. I will have you both back on again soon.
Oh, goody!
I will talk to you both this way just to talk soon, but I'm going to get in trouble.
Night, Jamie. Sleep tight.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night,
Jamie.
everybody. Thank you for
take care, everyone.
Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you both so much for being on.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Yeah, Vivien, tell Andy hi.
I will.
Dan, tell Hazel hi, but I've never met her.
I will, William. I definitely will.
Okay, and
enjoy this evening, William.
Yeah, and
thanks,
let's see. Yeah, thank you for all who listened. This will all be up sometime tomorrow on social media, YouTube and stuff too. Okay, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.